Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to take a look at something I bet most people haven't thought too much about.
Hmm.
Where do your bananas come from?
Yeah.
And specifically, if you live in Japan.
Yeah.
We came across this interesting article about a group from the Philippines that went to Japan
Okay.
to talk about bananas.
Interesting.
And it kind of opens up this whole can of worms about the banana trade and all these kind of like hidden challenges that most of us just never think about.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. The Philippines has been the top banana supplier to Japan for years and years. And so we want to kind of look at why they're now facing all this competition and what they're doing to try to stay on top.
Right. And it's not just about like breakfast.
All right.
This is a huge economic, thing for both of these countries.
It's massive. Yeah. I mean,
So just to set the stage here,
okay.
3 out of every 4 bananas you find in Japan are still coming from the Philippines.
Wow. That's a huge chunk, Rick.
That's a lot of bananas, but it used to be 9 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
So that drop is really what has everyone talking.
Yeah, that is a substantial shift. And, for the Philippines, the banana industry is it's a lifeline, especially in this region, Mindanao.
Right.
It's a major part of their economy. They make over $1 billion a year from it.
Wow.
Over 700,000 people depend on it for their livelihood.
It's a big deal.
It's huge.
So any kind of dip in their market share in Japan, it hits them pretty hard.
Absolutely. And Japan is a big consumer, too. I mean, they import over 1 million tons of bananas every year. It's like a staple food for them.
Right.
They got to have their bananas. So having a reliable supply is super important.
Well, and this is where things get interesting, right?
Yes.
Because we have this thing called JPEPA. It's the Japan-Philippines Economic Partnership Agreement.
Right.
I don't know if I said that right.
You got it.
But basically what it does is it puts this tariff on bananas from the Philippines,
Okay.
like 18% from April to September, and then it drops down to 8% from October to March.
So you're telling me almost 20% more
Yeah.
that a Japanese importer has to pay during peak season before even thinking about other costs
Right.
compared to other countries? That's a big deal.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Japan has 0 tariffs or much lower tariffs on bananas that are coming from other countries.
Well,
We're talking Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, even Mexico.
Yeah, so that price difference makes it really tough for the Philippines to compete.
Yeah, so that kind of leads us into this trip that this group from the Philippines took to Japan.
Yes.
Right. The delegation was led by the Agriculture Secretary Francisco P. Laurel Jr.
Wow, what a name.
Right. And they met with all these Japanese importers.
Yeah.
And they said, look, we want to keep up our quality standards, but we really got to talk about these tariffs if we want this industry to grow.
Well, and I think that's their main goal, right? Lower those tariffs and hopefully get more investment in their banana farms, which could then lead to less poverty, more jobs in Mindanao, and even help stabilize the region. So the stakes are pretty high.
It's a lot riding on this.
Yeah, definitely. But there's some optimism. The Philippine agricultural attaché in Tokyo seems to think the trade negotiations are going well,
Correct.
which is a good sign. They're also still supporting their growers back home who are dealing with this Fusarium wilt,
Right.
which is a disease that can wipe out entire banana crops.
Oh, wow.
So they need to keep production up if they want to keep exporting.
And it's interesting that they're really pushing to promote their bananas.
Yeah.
There was this big event, FoodX Japan 2025, where 32 Filipino companies were showing off their products,
That's a good move.
really trying to strengthen those trade ties.
For sure. And it wasn't just importers that the secretary met with. He also talked with Japan's state minister of agriculture
No.
and some other key political figures about potentially reviewing JPEPA. They were saying because of, shifting global economic conditions, they need to take another look at it.
It makes sense.
Yeah, so it looks like they're really trying to find solutions at the highest levels. And they're also giving a lot of credit to the Philippine embassy in Japan and their agricultural attaché for all the work they're doing to promote these exports.
Right. So essentially what we're seeing is the Philippines is actively trying to turn things around.
Yeah.
They're calling it this declining competitiveness of their bananas.
Mm-hmm.
And these tariffs are really at the heart of it. They're trying to find some common solution, while still working within JPEPA.
Exactly. I mean, it's pretty amazing to think that despite being the top banana supplier to Japan for so long,
Yeah.
they're now facing this real threat because of these tariffs.
Yeah.
It has huge economic implications for them. And it could even affect what kinds of bananas Japanese consumers have access to.
And the prices too, right?
Absolutely.
Oh.
So it makes you wonder, We hear about these big international trade deals.
Yeah.
But something as seemingly small as a tariff on bananas really shows how these agreements and even these smaller product-specific things can have a huge impact on the stuff we buy every day.
Yeah, you really don't think about it until something like this.
Exactly. It's a very interconnected world.
It really is.
It's a lot to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.